What we wanted to talk about today is taking things personally. And one of the things that we've noticed for ourselves and also for our clients is that we're much more likely to take something personally when it's related to the behavior of someone that we're close with, someone that we love. And you know, it's really where we need it most. Sometimes it's hardest to grab it or get it
That's
or
true.
see it.
That's true.
And I remember for myself, I was quite shocked when I noticed the difference between my ability to have compassion and empathy and equanimity when when Angus and I were doing volunteer work in a prison project and working with the participants in the workshop that were inmates. I found it really easy not to have any judgment and to feel compassion and empathy for them. And then I noticed that when, you know, maybe one of our kids was not treating me as nicely as I would like, that I would have much more judgment and much less compassion and empathy over, a fairly slight infraction. And it really showed me the difference in my state of mind between when I'm taking something personally and when I'm not.
Yeah. So, in a sense, you could have compassion for a serial killer, but not for someone who hasn't done the washing up.
You're about the washing up. That's not my thing.
No, I mean, it's amazing. I've had the exact same experience. And it's a good example of how, we do take things personally or can take things personally. And it reminds me... Sorry, had you finished? Did I cut you off?
No.
It reminds me of a conversation that I have from time to time with one of my clients. And as a younger man, he was he has a family now, so he hasn't got the time at his disposal, and he's pretty busy with his work. But as a younger man, he played a lot of computer games, and it's something that, it's a world that he's very well versed in. And so just before COVID hit, he was telling me about these virtual reality centers that were opening up around town, and then he'd taken his wife to on occasion. And he described this incredible experience about how at some point, having put on this virtual reality suit and the Oculus glasses, at some point he kind of lost perspective. He kind of didn't realize. He just thought this was his reality, basically. Here is this incredible world that I'm walking through, and this is my reality. He's lost sight of the fact this is all, this digital virtual world. So we got to talking about this from the point of view of this understanding and started to make this brilliant metaphor, or in our minds we thought it was a brilliant metaphor, about that's just how thought works, is that, through time and the machinery of creating habit in terms of our biology, if you like, we start creating our own programming. So we have a series of events or a series of responses to a said event, and then we have all this programming around it. So if it's, if we're in a low mood or a low state of mind, said event and the accompanying programming, which you could say was our level of consciousness, we'll just get to press play on it. So for me, it's kind of a great example about how we can get caught up in that programming, how it can feel so compelling when in the face of, let's say, our partner being out of balance. We just press play on this old programming, and lo and behold, there's actually a character that we've created within that program that kind of really is only ever a reflection of our consciousness in that moment, a reflection of our state of mind. So it was just this sort of perfect metaphor for me to see how we can get caught up. We really just press play on that programming and even that character that goes with that programming. And the opportunity is just to remember at some point, it's all an illusion. I'm in that virtual world, and then the matrix starts to glitch, and then hopefully we regain our perspective and see, I'm just caught up. I'm in this illusionary state, and however compelling it is, it's kind of like that's where I begin to come back into my mental health, if you like, and see perspective. So, and I can see within the context of relationship how people get caught up. And the opportunity, is to try and see it from that vantage point. But often, because of the biology, because of the habit-forming machinery that, is part of our human experience, it feels so compelling. It feels like this very well-worn path, and it's easy to slot into. And before we know it, we're engaging in that level of reactivity, which is just part of that illusion. So for me, it's just like, I feel that now I have those moments where the matrix starts to glitch. I start to remember who I am in my essential nature, and I actually become the gamer as opposed to the character in the game. But really what's unfolding is, in the metaphor that I'm trying to describe, is that in that moment we're kind of getting caught up in the character. We're identifying with the character in the game and making that our reality. And the glitch in the matrix moment is the realization that, oh, that's not my reality. However this person is showing up, they're getting caught up in their virtual world, and if I'm engaging with it, I'm actually like entering into that my own version of their game in a sense. And the sweet spot is to be able just to realize it's just all an illusion.
That's very profound. And I think what you're pointing to, and I'm not going to say this is easy because I get caught up in my game all of the time, but to know that when emotions are running high, that's what's going on. Even if you're still gripped in it, it's helpful because it's easier to look less in the direction of what looks like the problem and come back to the recognition that, oh, I am taking this personally. I'm not really myself in this moment. I've lost my bearings. What's going to help me to take care of myself? What's going to help me to come back to my balance and center? And from that place, it's easier to, I don't know, use the word glitch out, unglitch, I don't know what the right word would be, but to come back to that place of well-being that is going to have more perspective and going to allow us to see the relationship with our nearest and dearest, as you would say, with more compassion and more empathy, and also ourselves, be able to see ourselves with compassion and empathy too.
Yeah, it also, and I kind of flog this metaphor to death in a sense, but you can see how our habit-forming machinery responds to external triggers. So like if you sit down at your computer console and you hear like bells and whistles and music, it's kind of like, oh, it's time to play. But in a sense, your partner showing up in a certain way, you can form a habit around your response to it. So if they're yelling at you and they're yelling at you along the lines of some old refrain, it's like, oh, this is what I do in this situation. I press play on this particular character. And for me, really, the opportunity is just to see, yeah, that's just my state of mind. If I can see that's my state of mind talking, then that's when it starts to glitch and I start to come back into my health and well-being.
Because we don't see in the moment, we don't realize that we're pressing play.
No,
that happens
we don't.
so quickly.
When we're responding to the triggers, we're pressing play. It's like, oh, this is what we do when I hear that music. This is what I do when I hear this woman shouting at me.
But in terms of not being able to see it, what we do have, we might not realize that we're pressing play, as Angus is saying, but we know our feeling state. Like that is something that we can always recognize when we're in that place of upset. And as soon as we recognize that, that's the signal to remind us that, oh, we are caught up, we're taking things personally, and that's not the only version of reality.
Yeah. Yes, and that's at the end of the day, it's like that's the difference between taking it personally and viewing it from an impersonal level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being, what is it, in the game or the gamer?
Being in the game or the gamer.
All right, well, hopefully you can spend more time being the gamer and have more fun in the game as a result of that.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care. Have a great weekend. Oh, you went funny.